of Resilience to Your Core podcast with Candace Bester. I really cannot believe that we're doing this for the sixth week in a row. And every week, I just seem to be coming back with a new guest that I am so delighted to introduce you to. So, I do not believe in coincidences, only synchronicities. And the fact that I have met Tracy and I'm just about to introduce you to her is, in my opinion, totally by divine intervention. So, a lot of you that don't know, I have a business partner, and his name is Lawrence Ntlola, and he is my little secret weapon. He is very much in the background. Nobody knows about him, but he is my support, and he is there for me 100% of the way. When the Wi-Fi goes down, and it's not going to happen tonight, but when it did, I just pop onto the phone, and he calms me down, and he talks me through it. So last week, this time, I gave him a call and I said, okay, we need to get our next person to interview for next week. And it was only the next morning that he happened to pick up the phone and meet Tracy. There was an instant connection. And what stood out for both of us was Tracy's enthusiasm, her passion, and more than anything, her rapid personal transformation. So we have lots of things in common. We're very passionate about education. We're very passionate about teachers and children and personal development. So without further ado, I would love to welcome Tracy Banks. Welcome,
Yay.
Tracy.
Hi, Candace, and thank you so much for this. And welcome to everybody else that's joining us.
Thank you. And I'd also love to say thank you for the people who keep coming back every week. You know exactly who you are. Those ones that are liking and subscribing to my channels. And please, please, if you have any questions as we're going through, it really helps for you to pop them in the chat and hopefully we can answer them for you. So, Tracy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who is Tracy
Wow.
Banks?
There would be two Tracys, but today I'll introduce you to the new one. I'm a mom of three, two girls and a boy. Um, it's just been the highlight. It has to be the highlight of my life. And so much strength and inspirations drawn from that. Um, I've gone through what we could call radical change because it seems like that for me. Um, and it comes from old belief systems, it comes from people's expectations of you and how you manage that. So for me, I feel as though I was in a box for a very long time. You get used to the coziness, but it's not really a place of solace. And in 2015, I did a weekend course, and that just put everything in motion. It was an emotional journey for that weekend because it's about self introspection. Um, and then we did a fire walk. And having done that fire walk has shifted everything for me.
Wow.
Um, Gradually, what it was for me was really an appreciation and a re loving yourself because I didn't. Um, I think that time I must have weighed 115 kilograms. I was heavy with my weight, and Tracy inside was heavy. Um, and something shifted after doing that course. And it's been an amazing journey. It's been painful. It's been maybe embarrassing. But as you go through the process, you kind of make sense of everything. And then you take yourself out of that box. You don't need to be there anymore. Found new ways, changing that.
Can I ask you to elaborate when you've spoken to us now about being in a box? What box is that you're speaking about? If you can be more specific about your life when you were in that box.
Um, we five children, four older brothers, and then there's the baby sister. Um, and I think for me, there was just that expectation about what your one brother would have expected from you, you know, to study, get the honors, the MBA, maybe. I don't know what it is, but a lot of stories about while you could be more. I didn't like that. And I didn't understand it only afterwards that I'm not what you want me to be. And I need to discover who Tracy is. And once I was able to do that, everything shifted. So there's lots of compromises. You then realize that it's maybe not even family that could be supportive of you during a trouble time. It could actually be a really close friend. Um, but you do that on your own. Um, it it just meant something because I needed to change.
So there's a very big inherent thing. It goes right back to our ancestors, and it's very
Yes,
deeply rooted in needing to belong to a herd. It's really is part of our survival.
mhm,
So when we break away from that herd, you spoke about pain earlier, but it's the very thing that keeps people stuck with the wrong people. It's the very thing that stops us from moving forward because we're so desperately scared of losing our herd.
yeah,
The danger with that is that the negativity rubs off on the negativity and
yeah,
being stuck, you spoke about in the box, that's exactly what it is.
yeah,
So that's a big thing that I found helped for my transformation was to get a new herd, to
yes,
step away from the negativity and to find new people. And the funny thing is when you start to shift your mindset, you have a more positive outlook on life. And again, with the law of attraction, you attract more positive people. But it's taking that step and making that decision. It is frightening and it goes against what we're made of.
yeah. Um, I like what you say when you kind of have to change your herd because it's scary too, because you've got to acknowledge that this herd's not serving you. It's that you can't reach out to the people in your herd. And for me, I think, no, I do know that the month of May was a hard month for me. It was my everything. Um, it was dark. I was absent as a mum. I was there, but I wasn't there. And what you have to kind of find is to, like you said, how we met. It's just not by chance. And what I found was during such an interesting and emotional time, there are people that you meet, somebody that you speak to over the phone, and it happens all the time. And I'm not trying to point out anybody, but there's one lady that I'm sure is online with us. Um, it was a dark day, and she sent me this song, um, You Say. And I can't tell you because I could get teary, but it shifted something for me. It really shifted because what that song is for me is something I'd like every lady to have, every man to have on their playlist, just to affirm what it is that's out there for you. So all the things that people get to say about you, that's not true. That's your stuff
Wow.
that you
What is
project
the
to
name of
others.
the song and the artist? Do you know it?
You say, and her name is Lauren. I can't pronounce it. Um, I'll give you the name.
Okay.
I'll give
Okay,
you her
cool.
surname. I actually thought it was an Adele song, so I rushed to look, but it wasn't. So um, the point that I'm trying to make is that it could be the most random person. And there was just something about her that made it easy for me because I needed to hear that song. Until today, that's the first song that I get to listen to. It's my song for me, my affirmation about what it is that I bring to this world and all the things that people won't get to tell you. You need to discover that on your own. And that's exactly been for me.
I saw a beautiful thing recently on Facebook, and it was about that space between leaving your herd and finding your new herd
Yeah,
leaves a very quiet space, and you can either look at it as lonely and alone, or you can look at it as that quiet place to
yeah,
self-reflect and to grow. And
Mm.
that is definitely so true for people who have gone through personal transformation. They literally have a time when they're leaving a herd, but it does get lonely. It definitely does get lonely.
Yeah.
The other thing that you spoke about is a song. And I found that so interesting because I've always said that you don't actually realize the impact of a song because, in my mind, it's almost like affirmation. So we've
Yes.
got things going on all the time in our heads and we're telling ourselves stuff. So if we're listening to songs that are very negative about the world and about people and about how bad my
Yes.
life is, that's what you're hearing over and over again. And that's what you're drumming into your head.
Yes.
So I've actually created a playlist and it's just all about falling in love with myself. And it really is just songs that I play for me
Yes.
and really positive stuff. So that is very, very helpful. So we've spoken about the herd and then we've spoken about building,
Mm.
finding those people, just let, like there'll be that one person that will send you something,
Yeah.
and it will shift something in you. But I have to say, you said you went on this weekend, okay? Lots of people go on weekends, Tracy, but not everybody transforms. So,
Yeah.
why do you think you were so ready? You must have been ready. I have a thing to say that you have to be ready to transform. It doesn't just happen.
Well, you do, and not to get too personal. I mean, for me, when I did the course, I was scared. I was
Mm,
excited. I think
mm,
the thought of doing a firewalk is daunting, and it is. So you play these things in your mind. But I think the
mm.
Friday evening I was ready to do it, but the firewalk only took place on Saturday, and I was like, hmm. So it becomes intense. I think what I needed at that time was just a shift. Um, and I felt that something needed to change, but I wasn't
Mm,
expecting anything. It wasn't just because of
mm,
that course, because you go in there with no expectation. You've got a room
mm,
full of 115 other people, and everybody's there for something different. For you, it could be, the expansion of your business. Um, for me, it was personal. So, what was there for me was the acknowledgement that I wasn't a good wife. Um,
mm,
I'd compromised time that I should have spent with my kids.
mm,
Um, and then how do you fix that? And then how do you change it? So as
mm,
you work through the process, for me was the one thing acknowledging that not all marriages would then serve you, if I could put it that way. But you kind of just struggle. So it's the grinding stone all the time. It's like I'll try the stuff again tomorrow. Um,
mm,
but I felt empty and I got
mm,
tired of being heavy, heavy in
mm,
my body and heavy
mm,
inside.
mm,
Um, and the facilitator said, you've got to picture yourself getting undressed because that's what you're here for. It's a journey of discovery, but I never knew the impact that it would have.
mm,
I knew I needed something. I didn't know what that was. In hindsight, I'm so grateful that that course was the turning point for me, for
mm,
everything. So you
mm.
move on, you transform. What is it? You don't want to be heavy, so what are you going to do? I don't know. Maybe if you loved yourself a little bit more. And that's how it is because I can't explain the drastic weight loss. I can't. People
Mm.
have given me all
So you
sorts
didn't
of
go on some
advice.
major diet, and you didn't go and buy a diet plan and go on diet pills and no. So there was actually nothing you did differently. That's so profound.
There was nothing. I will say that maybe
Wow.
what was a catalyst to all of that was um, being in a new relationship, um, and how that person looks at you. So it wasn't, oh gosh, Tracy, you're overweight. What are you doing about it? It's like, why don't we try the walking thing?
Mm,
you know? And then you get into that and it makes you feel good. So it
mm,
wasn't a lot of walking. Um, it was just that I've got this. And you see that as you change. So in my mind, it was to eat out of a side plate, honestly speaking. And that kind of changed the way I would eat. But I didn't deprive myself of the McDonald's, of the milkshakes, of the Ferreros. No, there was nothing of that. There wasn't that big sacrifice in terms of your health. Um, there was just something that Tracy needed to change and say, hello,
Mm.
Tracy. And that's what it is. It's the call to yourself. And I can't really explain it. And I said that to you when we chatted. Um, you just know when it's right. And I've said to so many people, when you are ready to change, that's when everything is going to fall into place. It's not, I need to do this because Candace is doing it. No, we're not the same. It's got to mean something for you. And I didn't want to be heavy anymore.
Can we speak about that word heavy for a moment? So I think that people think they don't know any different and they think that that feeling is normal. And often when I'm doing my training through grit and the courses that I run, it's so profound for people when they realize you're not supposed to be suffering every day. You're
True.
not supposed to be feeling heavy. And when I say heavy again, it's inside.
Yeah.
Life is not supposed to be hard. And now I'm sure I have people on the
Yeah.
screen thinking to me, Candace, you live in a bubble, because I always was told that growing up.
Yeah.
But the reality is that heaviness is not normal. The
Yeah.
joyful, excited, waiting for the next good thing to come,
Mm, mm, mm,
ready for
mm.
life, that's the normal. And I just can't wait for the day when that becomes our normal. And that's
Yeah.
obviously going to just still have a little bit of work. And then I wanted to speak about one more thing. I mean, another thing that you mentioned, and you mentioned twice being an absent mother. And I think this is such an important thing to mention because we've got lots of moms and dads that listen to this podcast. And we live with so much regret. We live in a space of, if I had only done this,
Yeah.
oh, you look at photos of your children, and I'm speaking from personal experience here, but you look at photos
Mm,
of your kids and you think, those 10 years while I was figuring out my life, or those 5 years or 2 years or however long it was,
mm.
I have regret over the fact that I feel like I wasn't present.
Yeah.
Totally, I wasn't a present mother. Okay, so I believe that regret serves a purpose because we look back and we go, "Oh, I really wish I could have done that better," which makes us do better. But
Yes.
it's the guilt that keeps us stuck because I believe that guilt serves no purpose.
Yeah.
So, how easily do we forgive everybody else? How easily do people come to us and apologize and we're like, yeah, no, it's fine, no problem. But it's really not as easy to forgive ourselves. So, for me, a big part of my personal transformation was learning to forgive myself for things that had happened in the past that I
Mm,
regretted.
yeah.
And that was a big part of it. Okay, so now I've got another question. So you keep saying you don't really know what happened, but there had to have been something that you started doing differently. There had to be, I don't know if it was a daily routine, if it
Mm,
was a practice. What did you start to do differently? Because your life doesn't just change by accident. What did you start doing
yeah.
differently, Tracy?
So, like I said, it was just proportion control with the food.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the walking, I think I did that for about a month, nothing more than 2 months. But I said, I don't have, it's like, okay, they'll forget about it. Tracy's not going to join us because she doesn't have sneakers. Just not a tacky person or wasn't then. Um, but then I got,
So that would have been the weight
and then I
loss.
didn't have,
That would have.
yeah, it would have been the weight loss. But what it was at the time was when I had met my partner, um, I didn't feel as though there was that pressure to be a thinner Tracy. Um, it was just, it came from a loving space. So when somebody says, I'd like to give you a massage, not for what the other reasons are, but just because you can, um, I was flattered, that, gosh,
Mm,
somebody's that interested, somebody wants to invest in you. So it changes how you then see yourself. You become lighter, you come home to somebody that's excited to see you, you can see it in somebody's eyes. The dynamics are different. I became so much more confident. And with that, and knowing that if I could walk on 500, it was 560 degrees Celsius. That's how hot those coals were. So If I could do that, I can be the change because it meant that much for me. So you get into the swing, your vibration changes because now there's something to look forward to. You get back from work, although you're tired, you've got to quickly be a mom, quickly change, quickly cook, and then off you go for your walk, and you start enjoying that. So now you with your kids, they join you for the walk, and it changes everything. The one thing that I do want to say is that there's small things. I think there's always this big expectation about how it is that we do things. Like you're saying, what is it? What is it? What is it? The truth is, it was just the inside. I didn't want to be that fat girl. So as you start changing, it's like, hmm, I started looking at different clothes, you know. I told you the story about my jeans um,
Yeah. We shared that photo.
that I had.
I'll see if I can find it. But we shared that photo when we were advertising
Yeah,
for this podcast, and you could literally fit your entire body in less than on the one side of your jeans.
yes. When I look back at that, I'm like, why did you do that to yourself?
Mm,
You know, I don't like looking at those
mm,
photos because I look so different. But for me, it's just a sweet reminder that
mm,
it is possible.
mm,
And I was very happy to share the picture. It wasn't professional at all because you know me, I'm just too authentic for the plastic stuff. So you just took the picture and there you go. It's all about that. It's so possible. Um, and then you don't want to go back to that old you.
I'm going to put a spanner in the works because you've spoken about this amazing partner who sees you and helped you to feel good about yourself. But I actually think it happened the completely opposite way around. And I don't think you would have found that amazing partner if you hadn't shifted your perspective of yourself. Because there's no ways that you can be hating yourself and not looking after yourself and somebody comes along and loves you. So it goes back
Yes,
to that whole thing of you can't love anybody until you love yourself.
love yourself.
And that is very profound because people hop from relationship to relationship. I was one of those people for many, many years looking
Yeah.
for the love to fill you. And until you love yourself, it's never ever going to work. That is a very big thing. Okay, Tracy, I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit. When you spoke to Lawrence and when you initially got on that call and you guys connected like you did, he
Hmm.
obviously told you all about what we do and how we facilitate and we train teachers and children. What was it about that conversation that stood out for you?
Um,
If you can
I think the
think
one
about
thing for me
education
was
and
just when, we were talking about, um, what schooling's like now, the the COVID kind of period, if you want to put it that way. Um, and the one thing I said to him is that what I found for especially my daughter is that school can be a place for a student to grow and to thrive. Um, and it can also be a place that I think could be destructive to them. I spoke about how we need to be more supportive. So for me, I'm one of those moms where if there's anything you want to say, please pick up the phone and speak to mom. Let's not involve, Killen. Um, and I say to him in the morning, I I gear her, and I'm like, Killen, the silliest things, and she must think I'm crazy. I'm like, you choose the kind of day that you want to have. And I say, sprinkle everybody that you meet today with kindness. And she's probably thinking, where did I get this mom from? What is she smoking? But that's what it is. Then you get to school and the teacher's not having a good day. She's cheesed off, children are anxious, and we just regurgitate everything on each other. And it just becomes a vicious cycle. But what is it that we do to change? So you go back to the basics. What is it? We spoke about the kind of teachers that we have now and the teachers that we had then. I still live next to my standard 3 teacher. Um, she's an amazing woman, and I'm so sorry that she's left, the education space. Um, but what is it? Where do we change how we build each other, our children, how we equip our teachers to look at things different? And I always say, when you give somebody a title with responsibility, it changes things. So you're not my child's teacher, you're also the custodian. And that's intense.
I find that so interesting because, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, I don't think that much has changed with regards to teachers, other than they've been dealt a hell of a lot and they just don't have the skills to equip themselves.
Yes,
So I'm working with a huge group of teachers at the moment, and slowly but surely, I can see how they're starting to see that the grass is greener and the sky is bluer. But let me tell you, I was their teacher last year. I was their teacher who was marking 250 activities a day online, who was working until 12 at night and waking up at 4 and still not getting through a workload, who was dealing with parents who were struggling themselves.
yes,
But the pressure on teachers is just something insane because, yes, you have such a big mark. So there's two parts of this. The one part is the teachers absolutely need the emotional support because, to their core, I know you agree with me on this, they haven't changed. They're just as good and they've still got really, really good intentions and they want to do the right thing. But when you're not coping, you're going to keep making really bad decisions and you're going to start taking the stuff out on the kids. And then there's the other side of it where we absolutely have to equip the children. And when they come into the school and they see their teachers in a bad mood, instead of taking it on and saying, you know what, I need to be better behaved and it's all me, they need to look at it and go, oh, my teacher's having a bad day. We all have our bad
yeah.
days. We're all entitled to a bad day. But at the same time, I have to say, when our kids come home and we're having a bad day, then they
Yeah,
need to be doing the same thing.
yeah,
But the reality is they really, this is definitely the time with regards to COVID where it is more and more apparent, because nothing has given, like nothing's given. So it's not like
yes,
their workload is less. It's not like their marking is less. Their reports are less. They're reporting less. They've got the exact same, except just more and more and more has been thrown on them. So it really is a time of awakening in that regard, and to know that these teachers really are doing, just like I believe the parents are, doing the very best that
yes,
they can. But they really, I mean, not everybody, but they really don't have the emotional support that they deserve, well, that they're looking for. And
yes,
then with regards to just, the whole idea of supporting the children and really not making about the academics. We spoke about that a little bit on the phone.
yes.
And you were speaking about that exact thing. Can you remember what we spoke about? Is there anything that you want to say with regards to the academic achievement?
I think with reference to me saying we put people in boxes, so there's this idea um, that if you're not going to have a degree, that you're not going to amount to anything, and we might as well just discard of you. It's that tape that we play, those old TDK tapes, 60 minutes, 90
Mm-hmm.
minutes, that we keep on playing every day about what it is. So for me, it's knowing that for my daughter, when she struggles with maths, we know that if you don't pass your maths or your languages, you don't pass that year. So the story that plays is that, well, then, mom, if I'm not good at maths, then what? And then that pains me. But then she also says that I'm still trying to find me, and I'm like, what? Still trying to find you? That's beautiful. And it's the reassurance that it doesn't really matter. And I know that you're not going to like what I'm going to say, Candace, but that's just me. Um, I think it's the idea that education makes a man. I know that not to be true. My cousin got an MBA when she was 48. And it's like, really. Um, what I want my children to know is that I need you to be the best version of yourself. And it sounds really cheesy when I say that. As long as you know that you've put your everything in, I can't ask for more, can I? So if you're not going to be getting your 80s and your 100% for your maths, does that mean that she's not worthy? No, it doesn't. But I find that that's the kind of tape that gets played. You know, there's so much pressure to achieve. So the idea is, if I'm not good at this, then I'm not going to be good at anything else. And that's where the shift comes in. Something's just got to give. So it's a constant reassurance that you are powerful, beyond measure. And I think you posted that today, or was it yesterday? Something along those lines. And I love that because I want my children to know that they can be anything. And my children are not going to be in those boxes. I don't want them to experience that box effect because it didn't serve me. Um, and yeah.
I agree with you 150%. So you would, so and there are some schools out there, and there's one in particular that I'm thinking of that really are getting it really right. Where they've taken away homework, for example, and in the primary school, which is still they still little, even up to, in my opinion, up to grade 7, where they're not so pressurized with regards to results, and there's no formal assessments, and there's no exams, and I just see these children as happy, happy children. And that's where I'm saying, like, it's almost like we got it all wrong all along. And how many people do you know that are highly successful? So we are treading on very thin ice, because some people who are watching this are going to go, you know what? So does that mean we just mustn't achieve? No, it doesn't. It means that if we're doing our very best and we're not achieving, it doesn't make us any less of a person. And it doesn't mean that we're going to achieve any less as an adult. And that's a big, big thing, Like, as long as I'm doing my best, like you said, the rest really isn't up to me. And then when I spoke about being more powerful, then you could imagine I was really referring to, we think that life comes at us and then we respond to life. But in actual fact, we the creators of our very life. And for those people that are watching this, if you have to think about when you wake up in the morning and something starts to go wrong, so maybe you walk along and you bump your toe on the side of the bed, and then you go and burn yourself on the kettle, and then you get that email from a parent or whatever job you're doing, and by the time you get home, you think to yourself, how could it possibly happen that so many things went wrong? And my answer to that is, the minute you notice that you're in a bad headspace, to be able to shift that, the rest of the stuff wouldn't have happened. And
Yes.
I use this as an example because lots of people believe the law of attraction doesn't exist. And there's Steve Harvey who says it doesn't matter if you believe in the law of attraction. It works whether you believe it or not. And
True.
so when you're putting out that negative energy and when you're waiting for life to get better and you're in a negative space, it's not going to get better until you shift your energy.
True.
And what does that look like on a practical level? Well, it looks like searching, it looks like reading, it looks like finding who you are, and looking at podcasts, and not being okay to be stuck in this heavy space until you finally find the answers. It might be a course, it might be something somebody says, it might be something that you read. But I really, really hope that people that are listening to this, if they take nothing from today, but I mean, there was a ton to take. But one of the biggest thing I'd like them to take is that you don't need to feel anything other than amazing. And that
Yes.
is in your control. That heaviness is not normal. That looking at life through a lens of this is so difficult isn't normal. And how do we know? We have you as an example. And this transformation really happened over this year, if I'm right, Tracy. It happened over this year. Your transformation was it? When did you? Oh,
um,
you did that weekend in 2015. You said.
I did that weekend in 2015. And I've done it every year except
But
last
I
one.
think you
This year
did a
was
lot of work
difficult.
this year.
This year was it was profound.
Yeah.
It
What's
was my
what's
darkest.
there must have been a lot of times that it wasn't easy.
No, absolutely. It was very difficult, Candace. How? If only you knew. Um,
Mm,
I still now would look back and like, how did you do it? Because on a good day, with everything that happened, I think it would have been okay to then go back to that catty Tracy, that why me? How could you do that to me? But in that
mm,
time of going through the lowest is when
mm,
you emerge, you become this phoenix
mm,
that
mm,
rises and is,
mm,
I want something else. And
mm,
that's what it was for me. In hindsight,
mm.
I'm so very grateful
Mm.
for that experience. And
And when I speak to people, when we speak about the uncomfortable and the difficult, because I asked you, was it easy? And you said, absolutely not. It's such an illusion, Tracy, because people think that change is going to be so hard, okay? And it is definitely not easy. And then I say to them, is it easier to be depressed? Is it easier to feel like you are and to be living the day that you are right now? Or is it easier to go through the difficult stuff? And you know what's so funny is I saw this lovely thing on Facebook as well. There's a lady called Mel Robbins. I don't know if you've seen her or if you follow her at all, but she's got a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing. So there's literally 5 seconds where your brain is going to convince you to go back to old habitual behaviors, where you can trick
yep.
your brain. It's kind of a biohack. And I find it so amazing. So you're lying in bed and you know that you've put a discipline in place and you want to start waking up a half an hour earlier to meditate or exercise or whatever that is.
Yeah.
The alarm goes off, and what happens? You hit snooze, and then your mind goes a million reasons. It wants to be safe.
Yeah.
So you can do it tomorrow. You know, yesterday was a rough day. You need to love yourself. And then she goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when you get to 1, you stand up. And that is actually the hardest part. Once you've stood up, you can then get rest for gym and you can then meditate or whatever that looks like. When it
Yeah.
comes to eating food, you might really want that juicy burger, but you're really trying to be healthy. And
Yeah.
so you've got 5 seconds to biohack that, where you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you take out, I don't know, the muesli or the whatever's the healthy, the fruit or whatever's
Yeah.
the healthier choice. And I found that was like really helpful. But what's so interesting is I've been waking up. I thought about this yesterday. I've been waking up at 4 o'clock almost every single day for the last year, which is really insane. Like in the middle of winter, that's like the middle of the night. Can I
It
tell
is.
you that I wish I could tell you it gets easier? I wish I could say to you, it's so easy now and it's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Every single day, I have to convince my brain to get out of bed. And I've
Get
been
up.
doing
Yeah.
this for a year. And then there's just one more thing that I want to say before we leave. You spoke about it earlier. Is we just need to start to get a little bit of evidence to prove that there's results. And it's those results that make us not want to go back. Because
Yes.
am I right in saying that for you, it's not an option to go back to the old Tracy?
I can't. It's just it's not possible. I don't even know. And a friend of mine said, I don't know who you are. This is not the
Mm,
Tracy I worked with before. And I'm like, you're right. I'm
mm,
not. And you do
mm,
get those curveballs where it kind of tests you.
mm,
But I am so very proud of myself
mm.
that I've kept it together because I had my eye on the prize. And that was putting Tracy first because she didn't. And the
Mm,
rest just
mm,
becomes easy. It's those connections that you have with people. It's that friend that you can chat to. It's those calls in the
mm,
morning that inspire you when somebody is that honest. My mom always says to be in, to have friends that are interesting and interested.
mm,
And when she told me this in Standard 8, I'm thinking, What are you talking about? This doesn't make sense, mother. Where are you? Because our mother was strange. You know, it was the meditation, it's the Reiki. She was so forward thinking. It's like, who's this lady? But that's what it is. So I'm very mindful about the people that I keep company with, and I know
Mm,
exactly who's going to be with me at my last supper.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
And this the simple shift of when people leave or exit your life, you can look at it as a rejection and the worst thing because you've been rejected, or you can look at it as that. I literally say to myself, okay, thank you, but that's obviously not my person, or those aren't my people. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not about you. It's not about you, and you can't take it personally because
Yes.
there's people who are meant to be together and there's people that aren't. Can you imagine if we all liked the same type of person and got along with the same type of person? There'd be some very lonely people out there.
Very, very, very.
But well done. I'm very, very grateful that you joined us tonight, Tracy. And just keep going on and keep sharing your story and you keep speaking about people who have inspired you or have helped you. I have no
Mm.
doubt that you do the same thing for other people.
I've
So
been
keep,
told I do.
yeah, we always see it in other people. We don't see it in ourselves, do
Yes.
we? So just keep
Yeah.
on keeping on. And I mean, there was so much interest in this podcast, and it was because I was interviewing you. So don't be surprised when we say goodbye in a few minutes if you get 100 phone calls from all your people.
Candace, I just want to say thank you. The other stuff that you don't know is things that you want to do. Being on this platform was just the start. Um, I know what's out there for me. So when I got the call and when I spoke to Lawrence, this was the last place I expected to see myself. Um, and that meant a lot for me. It really, really did. And just to say thank you for seeing the treasure, for discovering the treasure. And I think this is what it's all about for me because I've worked for this, not for the accolades, but just to know that there are friends that have joined us this evening that I know I have good relations with. I've been told about how I've changed their day. Um, but I also want to make sure that it keeps me in check about what it is that I want. So I want to say thank you for putting me out there because you kind of forced me. It was like you have to do this because if you don't take this bus, it's leaving. So thank you very much for
It's
stopping
a
at
big, big
my
pleasure.
bus stop and taking me on this journey with you. And I wish you so much success.
Oh, thank
And I
you.
hope that it's just not today that we get to chat and share things. I know that the world's asking us to be better people. And there's a lot of people out there that need the likes of us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Sorry, I just want to say something quickly. There's a message that's just come through that I'm battling to see for some reason. Great
Um,
interview, virtual hug, super proud of you. Do you know who that is?
that's Nukatula. Um,
Okay.
she's she's beautiful. She's done lots of personal development courses, and we've stayed really connected. I like the fact that she's interesting and she's interested. So thank you very much, my friend, for that. She was so excited. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that took their time. My currency is
Thank
time,
you.
so I really appreciate it.
That's fantastic. And can I ask you if you've got one bit of inspiration, just one bit of advice that you can leave people with that they can go away from this feeling inspired? What would that be?
Wow, that's a nice question. That one you should have sent to me to think about. Um, JD, I think for me it's just to ask of you to remember the music, and it doesn't really make sense. It sounds like a stupid thing to say, but for me, what that means is when you remember the music is to go back to self and say, what's happening inside there for you, and what are the stories that you're playing? And I want you to know that the stories that you're telling yourself is such BS. Um, and you need to change it because it's required. And just to be a better global citizen, I say this to my children all the time, just be the better version of you, and whatever it is that when you bed at night is something you want to do that ignites you, please do that. Work to, and as you go along, you'll be amazed at the other people that join you on your journey, and you may not even know the impact that they have. And just to know that as you learn to be loving towards yourself, it's easy to love somebody else, but it's important to check yourself all the time. It becomes a habit. It's like you say, it's not easy to get up at 4 every morning. But if you really want to, you do. And just to say, it's a different world now, it seems. And let's get in touch with who we really are and what it is that we really, really want to do. Because you are absolutely worth it.
And reach out for support if you don't know how. Reach out, send messages, find a way. Just
And you may not
even if
even need
it's
to reach out. It's just somebody just phones you, asks you something random, and it's like, who's this? And that's what's happened to me. I've had aha moments because of calls like that. Very straightforward.
okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. So thank you, Tracy, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. And
Mm-hmm.
thank you that you got so many people on board to join my group, and I hope that I can continue to inspire them. And please post inspirational things on my group. I, it's quite weird. My group is quite different in that I'm the main person that posts stuff, and I often
Yes.
get feedback that people are very grateful, even though they're
Mm-hmm.
not interacting. The stuff that I post seems to be very valuable.
Yes.
But if you find stuff, please just post it onto my group, and this is how we can just keep motivating people. So have an amazing
Absolutely.
evening.
Thank you very much,
Thank
everybody. Thank you
you.
so much, Candace, and everybody that tuned in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Keep on. You
Thanks.
too. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye. So there we go. Another episode of Resilience to Your Core with Candace Bester. Tune in every single Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. And if you have something burning inside of you that you want to share with the world, or if you're in contact with somebody who wants to, please get in touch with me. And I will be so honored to interview you on this platform. Our email address is that's our website. Our email address is info@grit-grow.co.za, or you can just hop onto our website and send us a little message, and I will be in touch with you. So it's been an honor, and until next week, have an amazing evening.